I mostly read public domain books here on Glenn Reads Books to You, and they were written a long time ago, so they're usually racist or sexist or bigoted, but in there somewhere is a story, and that's why those stories are famous. Other times, I read works from independent authors, and they're delightfully not racist, but they might have adult language or adult situations, like, making sex. So that's your warning, but I'm sure you're grown up enough to handle it. Don't write to me complaining. Oh man, I hope to get here soon. I'm almost done with this book, and if they just got here, I can finally say, there you are! Oh, there you are! Oh, I'm so glad to see you. That's a twist, that I'm actually happy to see you, when normally I think you're a pile of horse shit. But no, you being here means that I finally get to finish this book. This episode is going to be the longest episode I've ever made for any book in my entire life. But I'm doing it so I can finally be done. We're going to finish the rest of this, so sit your butt down and, welcome to the Glenn Reads Books to You mansion, my little friend. Is it weird that I'm so nice to you right now? Maybe it's creeping you out and you never want to come back again? It's a fun little bit where I pretend to live in a mansion and not just recording in my basement. This is where I read the hottest public domain books and short stories. This week, you're going to finish reading The Legend of the Seventh Virgin by Victoria Holt. Want to learn about the author? Sure you do, moron. Eleanor Alice Hibbert is her real name, born September 1st, 1906, and died January 18th, 1993. And for the last time I can say she lived long enough to see the beauty that was Kurt Cobain. She was an English writer of historical romances. She published several books a year, in different literary genres, each genre under a different pen name. Jean Pleady for fictionized history and European royalty, Victoria Holt for gothic romances like we're reading, and Philippia Carr for multi-generational family saga. Fun facts? Sure. Let's read the fun facts before the grandfather clock goes off telling me to shut up. Many modern writers of horror and other types of fiction exhibit considerable gothic sensibilities. Examples include Anne Rice, Stella Coulson, never heard of her, Susan Hill, nope, Billy Martin, and Neil Gaiman, whatever, in some works by Stephen King. Several gothic traditions have also developed in New Zealand, weirdly enough, with the subgenre referred to as New Zealand Gothic, or Maori Gothic, and Australia, known as Australian Gothic, got it. These explore everything from the multicultural natures of the two countries to their national geography. An even smaller genre is Tasmanian Gothic, set exclusively on that island, with prominent examples including Gold's Book of Fish by Richard Flanagan and The Roving Party by Rohan Wilson. Southern Ontario Gothic, wouldn't have seen that coming, applies to a similar sensibility to a Canadian Southern cultural context. Robertson Davies, Alison Murnau, and Barbara Gowdy, never heard of anyone, Timothy Findlay, nope, and Margaret Atwood have all produced notable exemplars of this form. Another writer in the tradition was Harry Farrell, best known for his 1960 Hollywood horror novel, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, represented by a 1962 film based on this novel, which starred Bette Davis versus Joan Crawford. This subgenre of films was dubbed psychobiddy genre. That's insulting. Oh, thank God for the grandfather clock. Well, with that, I'm told to shut up, and why don't we get down to the library and finish this long episode of this book. Oh, well, there you are. But wait now, goddamn. Yeah, sit down. I know. It's weird that I want you to sit down. I actually want you here. I want to finish this goddamn book. Sit down. You're wasting time. Okay, here we go. I went into the storehouse and found the formula as Granny said I would. The ceiling was damp. If the cottage were to be lived in, that would have to be repaired. No doubt there would have been a certain renovations, and I had an idea of building onto it, making it a pleasant little house. Then suddenly I stood very still, because I was sure that the latch of the door was being tried. Stealthily. When you've lived in a house for as many years, you know all its sounds. The creak of the towel with its special creak, the floorboard, which is loose, the particular sound of the latch being lifted, the creak of the door. If someone was outside, why did he, ... or she, ... not knock? Why did they try the door so stealthily? Well, I left the storehouse and came into the cottage room, and it was silently by the door, and waited there for the latch to move. This, by the way, so I have said in every episode, I bought this book on Amazon. It has no cover. It was like $1, and I found out that they just scanned in the original book, so it's all messed up. So I'm trying to read. It's just becoming like special symbols right now. So the creak of the Talfat is /up /, it's O *, N special creak. So I'm trying my hardest. Be patient with me. If someone is outside, why did he or she not knock? Why did they N the door so stealthily? I left the storehouse and came to the cottage room, and V-Ent S / iftly, so then violently, swiftly, I have no idea, to the door and waited there for the latch to move. Nothing happened, and suddenly the percent Indo was momentarily darkened. I, who knew the cottage so well, was instantly aware that someone was standing there looking in. Oh, I did not move. I was terrified. My knees had begun to tremble, and a cold sweat was on my skin. Though I did not know why I should have been so frightened, why did I not run to the window and look at whoever was peering in? Why did I not shout as I had to the copse, "Who is there?" I could not say then. I could only stand cowering against the door. The room was suddenly light, and I knew that whoever had been looking in at that window was there no longer. I was very frightened. I did not know why, because I was not timid by nature. I must have stood there, not daring to move, for what seemed like 10 minutes, but it could not have been more than 2. I was clutching the formula, the comb, and the mantilla as though they were a talisman, which could protect me from evil. "Granny," I was whispering. "Help me, Granny," which is also spelled Lielp. This book. I'm so glad I'm almost done. Well, it was almost as though her spirit were there in the cottage, as though she were telling me to pull myself together, to be my old brave self. Oh, who would have followed me here, I asked myself. Who would harm me? Meliora, for ruining her life? Oh, as if Meliora would ever harm anyone. Johnny, because he had married me when he need not have done. Hetty, because he had married me when, Hetty? Oh, all right, fine. Because he had married me when I was so important they should marry her. Got it. Okay, I got screwed up for a second. I was afraid of ghosts! ! This was nonsensical. I opened the door of the cottage and stepped out, and there is no one in sight. I called, "Is anyone there? Does anyone want me?" No answer. I locked the door hastily and ran through the copse to the road. I did not feel safe until I came within sight of the dower house, but as I crossed the lawn, I saw that there was a fire in the drawing room, and Kim had called. Melior and Carleon were with him, and they were all talking animatedly. And I rapped at the window, and they all looked toward me, pleasure apparent in their faces. As I joined them by the fire, I was able to tell myself that I had managed the uncanny episode in the cottage. Oh, the weeks began to pass, and it was for me a time of waiting. And there were times when I believe Kim felt the same. Often, she's fooling herself, I could see where this is going. Often, I fancied that he was on the point of speaking to me. Carleon had become his friend, and although no one could replace Joe in Carleon's affections and esteem, but he was allowed to make free with the Abbess stables, and for him, it was as though he still lived there. And that was how Kim wanted it to be, and this attitude gave me a great deal of pleasure, because it seemed an indication of his intentions. Haggerty had come back to his old position, and Mrs. Salt and her daughter followed. It then seemed as though we had merely moved into the dower house for convenience, and that the Abbess was as much our home as ever. We were like a cozy family, Kim and myself, and Carleon and Meliora, and I was the center of it because they were concerned for me. One morning, Haggerty brought me a note from Kim. He stood waiting while I read it because he told me there would be an answer. My dear Carenza, I got something to say to you. I've been meaning to say it for some time, but the circumstances, you would not be ready yet to make a decision. This is not going to go the way she wants. I'm already calling it. If it's too soon, you must forgive me, and we will forget about it for a while. Where can we talk best? Here? At the Abbess? Or would you prefer me to come over to the Dower House? At 3 this afternoon suit you? Affectionately, Kim. It's not going to work out the way she thinks. I was jubilant. Now, I said to myself, this is the moment. And I knew that nothing in my life had ever been so important as to be. It should be the Abbess, I decided. That place of destiny. Haggerty stood by me as I wrote, Dear Kim, thank you for your note. I am most interested to hear what you have to say, and I would like to come to the Abbess at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Carenza. As Haggerty took the note and went out, I wondered if he, Mrs. Holt, and the Salts were discussing me and Kim. I wonder whether they were laughing together, telling themselves that there would soon be a new mistress at the Abbess. The old mistress. Yeah, get it. I went to my room and studied my reflection. I did not look like the woman who had recently heard that her husband had been murdered. My eyes were brilliant, and there was the faintest color in my cheeks. Rare with me, but now becoming, as it went, well with the shine in my eyes. It was now only 11 o'clock, and in a short time Meliora and Carleon would come in from their walk. They must not guess how excited I was. So I should have been careful during luncheon. I decided what I should wear. A pity I was in mourning. One should not be in mourning when one receives a proposal of marriage. Yet I should have to make a pretense of mourning for 1 year. The marriage could not take place before that was out. A year, such Johnny's death or discovery. What would be expected of me? Was I supposed to endure a year of widowhood? Yeah? Would I account from that night Johnny had disappeared? What a gay widow I should be. I must hide my happiness, and as I had managed to do so successfully so far, no one had guessed how joyful I was when they had found Johnny's body. A touch of white on my black dress? What about lavender silk? It's half in the morning, and as I covered it with a black coat and wore my black bonnet with the flowing widow's weeds, I would remove cloak and bonnet while I took tea, for surely I should take tea. We'd make our plans over the tea table, and I would pour the tea as though I were already the mistress of the house. The lavender, I decided, yes, no one would see it. I would go across the meadow from the Dower House to the Abbess, past the Virgins, the old mine, and now that the mine was proved to be useless, we would have all sign of it removed. I decided it would be a dangerous thing for our children. At luncheon, both Carleon and Meliora noticed a change in me. I've never seen you look so well, Meliora said to me. You look as though you've been given something you wanted for a long time, added Carleon. Have you? Mama? I haven't received any presents this morning, if that's what you mean. And I thought perhaps you had, he told me, and I wondered what. Now you're settling in, said Meliora. You're coming to terms with your life. What terms? Asked Carleon. It means that she likes things as they are. When I come back, they will know, I thought. As soon as the luncheon was over, I put on the lavender silk and dressed my hair very carefully using the Spanish comb. That added to my height and made it look regal, a worthy Chelatine of the Abbess. I'm not looking it up. I wanted him to be proud of me, and I couldn't wear the bonnet because of the comb, so I put on my cloak, which adequately covered my gown, and was ready. I was early. And I must wait. So I sat by the window and looked out to where I could see just the tower of the Abbess through the trees, and I knew that it were where I wanted it to be more than anything else in the world. There with Kim and the future. Granny was right. Oh, I had learned my lesson. To be in love was the very meaning of existence, and I was in love. Well, not with a house this time, but with a man. If Kim had said he wanted to wander around the world, if he had said that he wanted me to return with him to Australia, I would have done so, willingly. I would have felt a nostalgia for the abyss, even though my life, but I should not have wanted to return to it without my family. But there was no need to think of that. Life was offering me perfection in Kim, and the abyss. At last, I could leave. It was a mild afternoon in the autumnal sun. I'm done. Made of feathery branches and the firs glisten. Being in love heightened the senses, everyone. Never had the earth seemed to offer so much. The rich scent of pines, grass, and damp soil. The warmth of the sun was caressing, so was the faint southwest breeze, which seemed to carry exotic smells from over the sea. Oh, I was in love with that the afternoon, and I had never been before. I must not be too early, so I went to the meadow to stand within that ring of stones, which somehow made themselves a symbol in my life. They had loved life too, but they were something virgins. UNV up Caro ASE. Unvast virgins. No idea. They were like butterflies awakened to the sun. They had danced too madly in its rays and had dropped to death, turned into stone. Poor sad creatures. But it was the absent one, the seventh, who always took the first place in my thoughts when I stood there. Oh, then when I thought of myself standing in the wall and all of us being gathered there, it was like the start of a drama. All the main characters gathered together. Some of the actors had found tragedy. Others, happiness ever after. Poor Johnny, who had met a violent death. Justin, who had chosen to shut himself away, which I'm surprised that actually turned out to be true. I thought Johnny, lied about that, and wrote fake letters, but I was wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Is she actually going to marry Kim? We'll find out shortly. I think her heart's going to get broken. Let's get to it. Oh man, I'm so glad to almost be done with this book. Meliora, who had been buffeted by fate because she had not been strong enough to fight for what she wanted. Karensa and Kim, who would give the story its happy ending. I prayed then that my marriage would be fruitful. I had my beloved son, and I would have others, Kim's, and mine. For Kalyan would be the title of the abbess. He was St. Lampstead, and the abbess had been property of St. Lampstead for as long as I could remember. But when I could plan a brilliant futures for the sons and daughters Kim and I would have, I went across the Lavums to the abbess. I think it's another screw up in the book. It's getting worse as we get closer to the end. It's hard for me to just read past. I stood at the great portico and rang the bell. Haggerty appeared. Good afternoon, ma'am. Mr. Kibber's waiting for you in the library. Kim came toward me as I entered, and I could sense his excitement. Oh, he took my cloak, and he showed me no surprise to see that I had discarded my mourning. He was looking at my face. Oh, not at my gown. Shall we talk first and have tea after? He asked. Oh, there'll be a good deal to discuss. Yes, Kim, I answered eagerly. Let's talk now. Oh, he slipped his arm through mine and led me to the window where we stood side by side looking out across the lawns. And I could see the ring of stones in the meadow, and I thought this was the perfect setting for his proposal. I've been thinking a great deal about this, Karensa, he said, and if I've spoken too soon after your tragedy, you must forgive me. I'm still thinking it's not going to go her way. Oh, please, Kim, I told him earnestly. I'm ready to hear what you have to say. He still hesitated, and then he went on, and I knew a great deal about this place in the past. I used to spend most of my school holidays here. Oh, Justin was my greatest friend, and I think the family took pity on a lonely boy. I often went around the estate with Justin's father. He used to say that he wished his own sons had my interest in the place. I nodded. Neither Justin nor Johnny had given the abbess the care it deserved. Justin could never have retreated as he did if he really loved the place, and as for Johnny, to him it merely meant the provision of funds in which to gamble. I used to wish it could be mine. I'm telling you all this because I want you to know that I am very much aware of the state into which it's fallen. Oh, a big estate like this soon begins to suffer without proper attention. Oh, yeah, it hasn't been cared for a long time. It needs capital, yeah? And hard work, and I could give it what it needs. I have the capital, but most of all, I have the love for it. Do you understand me, Karen, sir? Completely. Oh, I've been aware of all this. The abbess needs a man, a strong man, who understands it and loves it and is ready to devote time to it. Oh, I'm that man. Oh, I can save the abbess. If something isn't done, it'll fall into decay. Did you know that the walls need attention? That there's not a dry rot in one of the something VDNG? Unding? I have no idea. I hate this book. I hate that I bought a cheap book. That the woodwork needs replenishing in a score of places. Karen's I want to buy that abbess. I know this is a matter for the lawyers, and I don't quite know yet what Justin's position is, but I want to talk with you first to know how you feel about it, because I know you love the house. I know you'd be very sad to see it become derelict, and I want your permission to start negotiations. How do you feel, Karen, son? How did I feel? Oh, I'd come to hear a proposal for marriage and was confronted by a business proposition. I looked into his face, and I was flushed. And in his eyes was a faraway look, as though he were not aware of this room nor of me, as though he were looking into the future. I said slowly, I thought the place would one day be Carleon's. He'll inherit the tide if Justin does not marry and have a son, and that is scarcely likely now. Is this a little unexpected? He took my hand, and my heart leaped. With sudden hope. Oh, he said, I'm a tactless fool, Karen. I should have broached the matter differently. Not blurted out like this. I've all sorts of schemes going round and round in my head. It's not possible to explain everything to you now. It was enough, I believed, and I understood. This was only the beginning of a plan. He would buy the abbess and then ask me to be its mistress. I'm a bit dull-witted just now, Kim, I said. I loved Granny so much, and without her... My dearest Karen, you must never feel lost and lonely. You know I'm here to look after you. After 3 dots, and then 3 more dots, Meliora, Carleon, then 4 dots. Oh, I turned to him and laid my hand on his coat. He took it and kissed it swiftly. Oh, yeah, it was enough, I knew. I had always been impatient. I wanted everything settled as soon as I knew how much I desired it. Of course... It was too soon for me to ask yet, and that's what Kim was telling me. First, he would buy the abbess, and then he would put it in order, and then it was restored to its old dignity. Then he would ask me to be his mistress. And I said gently, Kim, I'm sure you're right. The abbess needs you. Please, go ahead with your plans, and I am certain that it is the best thing that can happen to the abbess and to us all. Oh, well, he's delighted, and I thought for one glorious moment that he was going to embrace me. But he detested, however, and cried happily, shall we ring for tea? I will, and I did so, and he stood smiling at me. And Mrs. Holt answered the bell. Tea, please, Mrs. Holt, said, for Mrs. St. Lawrenceston and me. And when it was brought, it was like having come home. I sat at the round table, pouring out the silver teapot, just as I imagined myself doing. The only difference was that I could not be engaged to marry Kim until after a suitable lapse of time. But I was certain that it was only a postponement, and that he had made his intentions clear, and all I had to do was be patient until my dreams became realities. Kim was going to buy the abbess and the St. Larson estate. It was a complicated negotiation, but while we were waiting for it to be finalized, he was going to go ahead with certain repairs. He never failed to consult me about these, which meant that there were many meetings between us. Afterwards, Meliora and Carleon would join us at the abbess, usually for tea, or he would come back with me to the dower house. Oh, those are pleasant days, each one shortening the period of waiting. There were workmen in the Abyss, and one day when Kim took me round to show me what work was in progress, I saw Reuben Pengaster working there. I felt sorry for Reuben and all the Pengaster, because I guessed what a blow it was for them when Hetty's body was found. The doll had told Daisy that Vander Pengaster had shut himself into his bedroom for 3 days and nights without a mite passing his lips. And when he had heard the news, it had been a house of mourning. And I knew that Reuben had loved his sister dearly, but when I saw him working at the Abyss, he looked happier than he had appeared for some time. He's planing wood, and his jaw was shaking, as though he's enjoying a secret joke. How's it progressing, Reuben? Asked him. Yeah, pretty good, sir, I reckon. His eyes slewed round to me, and his smile was almost radiant. Good afternoon, Reuben, I said. Good afternoon to E, ma'am. Kim started to explain to me what was happening. We moved off, and I remembered that I wanted certain renovations done at the cottage, and I mentioned this to Kim. Ask Reuben to go along and give you an estimate. Oh, he'll be pleased to. Apparently, Reuben... I'm thinking I'm right about this stuff. So, first of all, Kim's not going to marry Karensa. I'm already feeling that. Karensa's she's fooling herself. And then on top of it, this Reuben seems like someone that's ready to burn the whole house down. He seems way too pleased to be there. They're all but saying that he's looking around maniacally and giggling to himself. But we'll find out. I went back to Reuben. Oh, I want some repairs done to this cottage, Reuben, I said. Oh, hey, he went on playing, but I could see that he was pleased. Could you come along and have a look? Oh, hey, he said. I'm thinking of building onto this cottage and make it into a small house. The foundations are good. Do you think that'd be possible? Reckon so. I'd have to have a good look like. Well, will you come along sometime? Well, he stopped work and scratched his head. When would you like me to, ma'am? After I finish work here tomorrow? Oh, that'd be excellent. Oh, well then, I'll see you at 6 o'clock like. Oh, it'll be getting dark. You want to see in the daylight? I scratched his head again. Reckon I could be there at 5. That'll give us an hour of daylight. Well, it'll be all right then, Reuben. 5 o'clock tomorrow at the cottage. I'll be there. Very good, ma'am. He went back to his work, his jaw wagging with the secret mirth. See, exactly, this is what I'm talking about. Oh, it showed he was not fretting, and I was glad. Reuben was simple, and Hetty had been away so long. He had probably forgotten what she looked like. I rejoined Kim. Well, he asked, have you made your appointment? Yes, he seemed pleased about it. Oh, Reuben's the happiest when he's working. Kim looked at his watch. Let's get back to the library, Meliora, and Carlian will be there in a few minutes. And as I made my way to the cottage, I remembered the last occasion I had visited it and felt a certain return of my uneasiness. As I entered the copse, I kept looking over my shoulder, fancying that I might be followed, and I was in good time. I should be there exactly 5 o'clock. I hoped Reuben would be punctual. Once he arrived, my fancies would be dispersed. And I had never before regretted the isolation of our cottage, but welcomed it. But when Granny was there, everything had seemed so safe. For a moment, I was overcome by sadness and the knowledge that the world would never be quite the same for me now that Granny had left it. The cottage seemed different. Once it had been a refuge and home, and now it was just 4 cob walls, isolated from the other cottages, a place where the latch could be alarmingly lifted, where a shadow could appear at the window. I reached the door and unlocked it, stepped inside, glancing anxiously about me, and the cottage had always been dark because of the smallness of the window. I wished that I had waited for a bright morning to ask Reuben here. Still, I should be able to show him what I wanted done, I suppose, and that was all that was necessary at this stage. Hastily, I looked around the cottage and went into the storehouse to assure myself that no one was hiding there. Oh, and I laughed to myself, yeah, but all the same time I locked the door. I had convinced myself that it was probably some, Romane or a tramp who had tried the door and looked at the window on another occasion, perhaps seeking some place to return at night to use for shelter. Finding the door locked and seeing someone there, the intruder had rapidly retired. I examined the ceiling of the storehouse. Oh, it certainly needed attention. If I had more rooms built on, perhaps preserving the main room with its towel fat, I should have had quite an interesting place. My heart leapt in terror. It was the same as before. Someone was lifting the latch. I ran to the door and it leaned against it. There's a shadow at the window. I stared, and then I began to laugh. "Reuben!" I cried. "Ah, so it's you. Wait a moment, I'll let you in." Oh, I was laughing with relief, yeah, as he stepped into the cottage. Pleasant, familiar Reuben, not a sinister stranger. "Well," I said briskly, "well, it's not the best time of day for our business." "Oh, it'll be good enough time of day, ma'am." "Well, perhaps for our purpose, you'll have come again one morning, and you'll see there'll be lots of repairs needed, but I'm thinking of building on. Oh, we'll have a plan. There's one thing I want, though. This room must be left just as it is. I always wanted to remain just like this, with the old towel fat round the wall. You see, Reuben?" He's watching me as I walked out, but he said, "Oh, I do see, ma'am." "Well, we'll build up and on, but I don't see why we shouldn't have a nice little house here. It'll mean cutting some of the trees down. It's a pity, but we shall need the extra ground." "Yes, ma'am," he said, but he didn't move. He stood still, looking at me. I went on, "shall we take a look around while there's some daylight? There's not much left, I'm afraid." "There's none left for our Hetty," he said. "What?" And I turned and glanced at him sharply. His face was puckered, and he looked as if he were about to weep. "'Tis long since her has seen the light of day," he went on. "I'm sorry," I said gently. "It was terrible. I can't tell you how sorry I am." "Oh, I be going to tell ye how sorry I be, ma'am. We must make the most of the light. It'll soon be dark." "Eh?" he said. "Oh, it'll soon be dark for like it is for our Hetty." Oh, he's going to kill her. Something in his voice, something in the manner in which he kept looking at me, began to alarm me. I remembered that Reuben was unbalanced. I remembered that occasion when I had seen him exchange a glance with Hetty in the Pengaster kitchen after he killed a cat. I remembered, too, that the cottage was lonely and that no one I knew was there. And I remembered that the other occasion when I had been alone and frightened in the cottage, and I wondered if it were Reuben who had followed me then. "Now the roof," I said briskly. "What do you think of the roof?" For a second he looked up. "Reckon something had to be done to the roof." "Look here, Reuben," I said. "It's a mistake to come at this time. It's not even bright enough day where it would have helped. What am I going to do is give you the key to the cottage, and I want you to come one morning and make a thorough examination of the place. And when you've done that, can you give me a report, and I'll decide what we can do? Is that all right?" He nodded. "I'm afraid it's too dark to do anything now. There's never much height here." The height? HGHT. I'm trying my best. "Here on the sunniest day, but morning will be best." "Oh, no," said Reuben. "Now is the best. The hour has struck. This be the time." I tried to ignore that and move toward the door. "Well, Reuben," I murmured. But he was before me, barring the way. "Oh, I do want to tell he began. "Yes, Reuben, I want to tell about our Hetty." "Well, some other time, Reuben." His eyes were suddenly angry. "Now," he said. What then?" "Her be cold and dead, our Hetty." His face puckered. "She were pretty, like a little bird, our Hetty were. 'Twert right. He did belong to marry her, and you made him marry you instead. Can't do naught about that. Saul took care of him." "It's over now, Reuben," I whispered soothingly as I tried to pass him, but he still stopped me. "I mind," he said. "When the wall did fall, I did see her. There, 1 minute she were, and the next, no more. She reminded me of someone." "Well, perhaps you didn't really see anything, Reuben," I said, glad that he had stopped talking of Hetty and spoke instead of the seventh virgin. There she was there 1 minute," he muttered, "and then she were gone the next. If I hadn't taken away the stones, her'd be there to this day. Walled up she were, on all account of her terrible sin. Her did lie with a man, and her taken holy vows, and she'd be there now. But for I... It's no fault of yours, Reuben. And she was dead. It didn't matter that she was disturbed when she was dead. Well, all along for me," he said, "she took a look of someone." "Who?" I said faintly. His crazy eyes looked full into my face. She had a look at you, he said. No, Reuben, you imagine it. He shook his head. Her sinned, he said. You sinned, our Hetty sinned, she paid, and you didn't. You mustn't worry, Reuben, I urged, trying to speak calmly. You must try to forget about all that. It's over, and now I must go. No, he said, it ain't over yet. It'll be, but not yet. Well, don't worry anymore, Reuben. I ain't worried, he answered, for 'twill be done soon. Well, we just got to learn a lot about Reuben. Wasn't that fun? Why don't we take a little break, huh? I can tell you about new upcoming books from Penguin Random House. I like to change locations. I got a big house, and I got to use up these rooms. So why don't we go down to the basement where I can play the guitar for you? It's not creepy. It's fine. Just get in my basement. There you are. Why don't you take a seat? Yeah, I actually brought a folding chair here. Why don't you get yourself settled in this folding chair in my basement while I play this guitar? Yeah, pretty good. I'm getting better. Well, as I let you know about a new Penguin Random House book called Donuts, 90 Simple and Delicious Recipes to Make at Home by Laura Ferroni. About donuts? Sure, let's learn about it. It's a chocolate glazed donut, and a cup of coffee is a match made in heaven for many North Americans. But wait! Oh, something new is happening to the donut. Oh, boutique bakeries are popping up everywhere, and designer donuts are all the rage. The best news of all is that they're actually easy to make at home. Burp. And really, is there anything more scrumptious than a fresh donut? Question mark. In donuts, prepare to be tempted by more than 50 recipes, including chai, huckleberry cheesecake, and red velvet. Of course, the cookbook is also full of traditional recipes like the old-fashioned sour cream and chocolate-raised donuts, as well as vegan and gluten-free recipes. Very inclusive. The mouth-watering photography and tasty recipes will leave readers and home cooks drooling and dreaming with donuts. Want to hear some praise? Sure. It's very short. Publishers Weekly says guides... Weird. Quote, ... guides bakers through the world of donut making. Ferroni's Donuts, in parentheses, is charming, easy to follow manual of fried donut confections. The way that whole thing is constructed makes me think that it was just set out of context about maybe anyone. The South Sound magazine, which I've never heard of, and I don't think anyone ever has. This book offers 90 recipes that cover everything, from well-loved classics like old-fashioned sour cream to surprising new flavors like apple cider. The book covers sweet and savory, including gluten-free and vegan options. I think that they just read the review that we just read and then were like paid to write something. So there's something for just about anyone to try and love. So there you go. If anything was set up by a corporation and forced down our throats, it would be Donuts by Laura Ferroni. The category is baking and desserts. It's coming out in paperback for $19 on December 5th, 2023. You can get it from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Bookshop.org, Hudson Booksellers, Powell's, Target, and you know that Laura probably brings her family to a certain store just to point at her book, which is there on the shelves, and say, look, I wrote that. I wrote it about something I cook for you every night. And the kids, the family, the husband, they're all like, oh, God damn it. We are so sick of those goddamn things. It's all you ever make for us. Can I just have like a chicken leg? Can I have anything different? Could you possibly just buy a bag of potato chips? But no, Laura Ferroni's like, look, here. It's on the shelves. You can see it in Walmart. Well, with that, why don't we go back to the library and continue reading this book. Oh man. Okay. Oh, so get settled in. We're almost done. What are you doing? You pulled out your phone? What are you, a 9-year-old on a car trip? You made me read this book to you. Put the phone away. We're almost done. Put the phone away and look at me. Look at me while I read this to you. I'm only doing this because you're making me. All right. Oh, well, that's all right then. I say goodnight, and you can keep the key. It's on the table there. I tried to smile, straining every effort. I must dash past him. I must run. Oh, I would run to Kim and tell him what he had always feared about Reuben was happening. The tragedy of his sister's disappearance and the discovery of her body had sent his poor brain tottering. Reuben was no longer slightly, but completely mad. I'll take the key, he said as he glanced at the table and took a step to the door. But, he was beside me, and I felt his fingers on my arm. And I was immediately aware of his strength. Oh, don't go. You gotta hate this book. I bought a cheap book. T, parentheses, own't, go, go, he commanded. Whatever. Don't ego. I'm guessing. I don't know. Who cares? I must, Reuben. They'll be waiting for me. 3 dots with spaces in between them, expecting me. 3 dots with a backslash. Others be waiting, he said. Others be expecting. They, he said. Hetty and her. In her wall. Reuben, you don't know what you're saying. Oh, I do know what I have to do. I promised Who? When? I said, Hetty, don't ye worry, my little You've been done wrong, and he'd have married you instead of murdering you. But there it was, you see. She'd come out of the wall, and she'd done you harm, and I was the one to let her out, so she'd be bad. So she do belong back in the wall. Don't worry, you'll be at peace. Reuben, I'm going now. He shook his head. Going where you belong to be. I'm taking ye. Where's that? He put his face close to mine and began to laugh that horrible laughter, which would haunt me for the rest of my life. Yeah, you know, my dear, where you belong to be. Reuben, I said, you followed me here to this cottage before this. Aye, he said. You did lock yourself in, but you wouldn't have done. I weren't ready. I had to be ready, and I be ready now. Ready for what? He smiled, and again that laughter filled the cottage. Let me go, Reuben, I pleaded. Oh, I'll let you go, my little lady. I'll let ye go where ye do belong to be. 'Tain't here in this cottage. 'Tain't on this earth. I be going to put ye back where you was when I disturbed ye. Reuben, listen to me, please. You misunderstood. You didn't see anyone on the wall. You imagined it because of these stories, and if you did, she had nothing to do with us. Well, I let ye out, he said. Aye, were a terrible thing to do. Look what ye did to our Hetty. I did nothing to your Hetty. Whatever happened to her was due to what she did to herself. She were like a little bird, a little homing pigeon. Listen, Reuben, 'tain't time for listening. I have your little nest all waiting for ye. I'll take you there cozy, like you was till I disturbed ye, and then you can't hurt no one no more. Then I can tell Hetty what I'd done. Hetty's dead? You can't tell her anything? His face puckered suddenly. Oh, our Hetty's dead, he murmured. Our little homing bird is dead, and he's dead. Saul saw to that. Saul always said there'd be one law for them and for the likes of we, and he was the one to see justice done. Well, so be I. 'Tis for you, Hetty. Don't ye fret no more. She'll be going back where she do belong. As he released me, I moved toward the door, but there is no escape. I heard his laughter filling the cottage, and I saw his hands, his strong, capable hands, and I felt them about my throat, pressing out my life. The cold night air revived me, and I felt sick and ill, and there was a pain in my throat. My limbs were cramped, and I was fighting for my breath. Enveloped in darkness as I was, I became aware of jolting uncomfortably. I tried to cry out. No sound came, and I knew that I was being carried somewhere, for every now and then a pain would jerk through my body. I tried to move my arms, but I could not. and then the sudden understanding came to me that they were tied behind my back. Memory returned, and the sound of Reuben's laughter, and the sight of his half-crazed face near my own, the gloom of the cottage, which had so long from my home been a refuge, the horror that had returned into its sinister place. I was being taken somewhere, and Reuben was taking me. I was trussed up and helpless like an animal, being taken to the slaughterhouse. Where am I going? I asked myself, but I knew, and I must shout for help. I must let Kim know that I was in the hands of a madman. But I knew what he was going to do. In his crazy mind, he had identified me with a vision, real or imaginary, who could say? But to him, I was the seventh virgin of St. Lamston. Oh, this could not be so. I had imagined it. This could not happen to me. I tried to call Kim, but there's only a strangled sound, and I realized my body was covered by a piece of rough substance, probably sacking. Oh, we had come to a halt, and the covering was removed, and I was looking up the stairs, so it was night, and I knew where I was, for now I could see the walled garden. And the wall! 3 dots real tight close together, no spaces, as it had been on that day when we had all been there together. Meliora, Johnny, Justin, Kim, and me. And now I was here alone with a madman. Oh, I heard his low laughter, that horrible laughter, which would always be with me. Oh, he had willed me close to the wall. Oh, what had happened to it? Oh, there's a hole there, as it had been on the other occasion. There was a hollow, and he had dragged me out of the wheelbarrow in which he had brought me to the cottage, and I could hear his heavy breathing as he forced me into the hollow. Reuben, I breathed. No, for God's sake, Reuben. I feared ye be dead, he said. 'Twouldn't have been right. I'd be powerful glad you be alive still. And I tried to speak, to plead with him. And I tried to call. My bruised throat felt constricted as though I exerted all my will. I could not produce a sound. I was there. 3 dots with good nice spaces in between them. Standing there as I stood that day. Oh, he was but a dark shadow, as though from far off I heard him laugh. And I saw the brick in his hand, and I knew what he was going to do. As I fainted, I thought suddenly, all that I have done has brought me to this, just as all that she brought her to this same spot. We had trod a similar path, but I had not known it. I thought I could make life go as I wanted it, but so perhaps had she. Through a haze of pain and doubt, I heard a voice, a well-loved voice. Good God, it said, and then Carenza, Carenza, and I was lifted in a pair of arms, tenderly, compassionately. Oh, my poor, poor Carenza. It was Kim who had come for me. Kim who had saved. Kim who was carrying me in his arms from the darkness of death into the abyss. I was ill for several weeks. They kept me at the abyss, and Meliora was there to look after me. It had been a terrible ordeal, far worse than when I first realized. Each night I would wake in a sweat, dreaming I was standing within the hollowed wall, while devils feverishly worked to build me in. Meliora came over to nurse me, and was wath me night and day. I'm sure it's supposed to be with, but they just slapped an A in there because I hate this goddamn cheap book I bought. One night I woke and sobbed in her arms. Meliora, I said, I deserve to die, for I have sinned. Oh, hush, she soothed. You must not think such things. Oh, but I have, as deeply as she did, more so. Oh, she broke her vows. I broke mine. I broke the vows of friendship. Meliora, oh, you've had bad dreams. Bad dreams of a bad life. Oh, yeah, you've had a terrible experience. No need to be afraid. Sometimes I think Reuben is in the room, that I shout and no one hears. Well, they've taken him away to Bodeman. Oh, he's been ill for a long time, gradually getting worse. 4 dots. Since Hetty went, yes. How is it that Kim was there to save her? Well, because he had seen that the wall had been tampered with, and he spoke to Reuben about it, and Reuben said that it had collapsed again, and he said that he had put it right the next day, but Kim couldn't understand why it should have collapsed when it had been rebuilt not so long ago. Oh, you remember when? 3 really tight dots. We were children. I remember well, I told her. We were all there together. Oh, we all remember, Meliora answered. Then you didn't come home, and I went to Kim. Naturally. Yes, I said gently. Naturally, you went to Kim. And I knew you were gone to the cottage, so we went there first. It was unlocked, and the door was wide open. Kim was frightened then. He ran on because Reuben had said something strange to him about Hetty, and the idea must have come to him. He guessed what Reuben was about to do. Well, he guessed something strange was happening, and we might find out at the wall. Thank God, Karensa. And Kim, I murmured. Then I began to think of all I owed to Kim. Wow, this book, my God. Ode is O-W up caret E-D, and then to Kim is capital B, capital C-I-M. I am doing the best I can. Joe's life probably, and Joe's present happiness, my life, my future happiness. Kim, I thought, soon we shall be together, and everything that was gone before will be forgotten. There will only be the future for us, for me, and for you, my Kim. Well, I woke in the night sobbing, and I had a bad dream. I was standing on the stairs with Meliora, and she was holding out a toy elephant to me. I was saying, it was this which killed her. You are free now. Meliora, free. And I awoke, and I saw Meliora standing beside me. Oh, her fair hair and her two plaits, thick and glistening. Oh, they looked like golden ropes. Meliora, I said, it's all right. It's nothing but a bad dream. These dreams, is there no escape from them? They'll pass when you remember that they're only dreams. But they are part of the past, Meliora. Oh, you don't know. I've been wicked. I'm afraid. Now, Karensa, stop saying such things. Confession is good for the soul, they say. Meliora, I want to confess. To me, it's to you whom I have wronged. I should give a sedative to you, and you must try to sleep. I will sleep better, with the light of conscience. I must tell you, Meliora. I must tell you about the day Judith died. It was not as everyone believed. I know how she died. You've had bad dreams, Karen said. Yes, and that's why I must tell you. You will not forgive me. Not deep in your heart, although you will say you will, and I kept silent when I should have spoken. I spoilt, with a T, your life, Meliora. What are you saying? You must not excite yourself. Come, take this and try to sleep. Listen to me. Judith tripped. Oh, do you remember Nellie? Oh, the elephant? Carleon's toy elephant? She looked alarmed. Clearly, she thought I was wandering. Do you? I persisted. But of course, it's still about somewhere. Judith tripped over it. The scar, ... her brow was furrowed. The tear, I went on. You mended it. Judith's heel made that. It was lying on the stairs, and she tripped over it. And I hid the elephant first because I didn't want Carleon blamed. And then I love that she mended the scar on the elephant. The scar created by the death of this woman, which is going to affect Meliora's life. She's a good writer. She knows what she's doing. It's not bad. Afterwards, because I thought that if it were proved to have been an accident, Justin would never have gone away. He would have married you, and you would have had the son who would have had everything. Everything that I wanted for Carleon. Would make this story really good, like a good soap opera. If she's like, I'm barren. I haven't had a womb since birth. I'm an anomaly. I don't have a womb. And then she's like, you could have never had a kid? That would have been amazing. But now, probably not. Silence in the room. The only sound was of the clock ticking on the mantel shelf. The dead silence of the abyss by night. Somewhere in this house, Kim was sleeping. And Carleon, too. Mm-hmm. Did you hear me, Meliora? I asked. Yes, she said quietly. And do you hate me for shaping your life? For ruining your life? She was silent for a while, and I thought, I've lost her. I've lost Meliora. First Granny, now Meliora. But what do I care? I have Carleon. I have Kim. Well, I see where this is going. I was wrong about all the rest of this stuff, like the brother killing brother. I got that wrong, but this one I'm pretty sure of. It was also long ago, said Meliora at length. But you might have married Justin. You might be mistress of the abyss, and you might have children. Oh, Meliora, how you must hate me. Oh, I could never hate you, Karensa. Besides, When you remember it all, when it comes back to you clearly, when you remind yourself all you've lost, you'll hate me. No, Carrots. Oh, you're so good. Too good. Sometimes I hate you for your goodness, Meliora. It makes you so weak. Oh, I'd admire you more if you blazed at me in anger. But I wouldn't do that now. I mean, it was wrong of you, and it was wicked of you, but it's over. And now I want to say thank you, Carissa, for I'm glad you did what you did. Glad? Glad to have lost the man you loved? Glad for a life of loneliness? Here it comes, perhaps. Perhaps I never loved Justin. Carissa. Oh, I'm not so meek as you believe me to be. If I had loved him, I should have never let him go. If he had loved me, he would have never gone. Justin loved the life of solitude. He is happy now as he has never been before, and so am I. Oh, it would have been a bitter mistake if we got married. You saved us from that, Carissa. For the wrong motives? Yes, but you saved us, and I'm glad to be saved. Oh, I'm so happy now. I could have never had happiness like this but for you. That's what you have to remember. Oh, you're trying to comfort me, Meliora. You always did. I'm not a baby to be soothed. I had not meant to tell you that yet. I was waiting until you were better when we're going to go celebrate. We are all, it's A with the letter U. I'm thinking it's probably the word all. We are all getting excited about it. Carleon is thinking up a big surprise. It's going to be a big grand party. We're only waiting for you to get better. To celebrate what? Well, this is the time to tell you, to set your mind at rest. They won't mind that I've told you, though we did plan to make an occasion of it. I don't understand. I knew as soon as he came back, and so did he. He knew it was the chief reason why he wanted to come back. Who? Kim, of course. He asked me to marry him. Oh, Carrots, a life so wonderful. So it was you who saved me. You see why I can only be grateful. We're going to be married soon. You? Kim? Oh, no. You and Kim? She laughed. You have been grieving all this time thinking of Justin. The past is done with, Carrots. What has gone before isn't important anymore. It's what lies ahead. Don't you see? Oh, yes, I did see. I saw my dreams in ruins. I saw that I had learned nothing from the past. It looked into a future as dark as the hollows between the walls. I was walled in with misery. Told you it's going to happen. It's the only thing I could call out. Is there children at the Abbess now? Meliora's and Kim's the eldest, called Dick after her father, is 10 years old. And so like Kim, that when I see them together, my bitterness is almost unendurable. What did this book just do? It says ISY, and then there are children at the Abbess now. So I'm guessing this is supposed to be like a new chapter, that this horribly formatted book won't let me know. I think we've jumped into the future. There are children at the Abbess now, Meliora's and Kim's. The eldest, called Dick, after his father, is 10 years old, and so like Kim that when I see them together, my bitterness is almost unendurable. I said that correctly. I live at the Dower House, and every day or so I walk across the meadow, past the ringed stones of the house. All sign of the mine has now been removed. Kim says that the St. Lamstons need to know it was there, but the Kimbers have no need of it, because they will love the place and work for it, so that it'll always prosper while there are Kimbers at the St. Lamston. Meliora is a wonderful chatelaine. I'm looking that one up. I've been ignoring and looking up anything because I'm just trying to get through this incredibly long book. Chatelaine, a woman in charge of a large house. Well, we learned that. I've never known anyone as capable of happiness. She is able to forget the hardship she endured under the old lady St. Lamston, the unhappiness she suffered through Justin. Burp once told me she looks on the past as stepping stones to the future. I wish I could. If only Granny were with me. If only I could talk to her. If only I could draw on her wisdom. Hey, Carleon's growing up. Yeah, he's tall, bearing scarcely any resemblance to Johnny. No, but he's the same Lamston for all that. He is 16 and spends more time with Joe than with me. Well, he's like Joe, the same gentleness, the same absorption with animals. Sometimes I think he wishes that Joe were his father. And as Joe is no son of his own, he can't help but being delighted by the relationship. The other day, I was talking to Carleon of his future and his eyes shining with enthusiasm. He said, I want to go with Uncle Joe. Oh, I was indignant. I reminded him that he would be a Sir Carleon one day, and I tried to make him see the future I had in mind for him. St. Lamston couldn't be his, naturally, but I wanted him to be master of a big estate, as, I pointed out, his ancestors had been for generations. He's sad because he didn't want to hurt me, but he believed I was going to be disappointed in him, for as gentle as he is, he has a will of his own. How could I expect to otherwise be my son? This has put a gulf between us, and it grows wider every day. Joe knows of it, and he feels the boy should choose for himself. Joe is fond of me, although I sometimes think he's afraid of me. Only once or twice he has referred to that night when Kim and I brought him to the woods, but he will never forget it. It moves him deeply to think that he owes Kim and me. And although his outlook on life is different from mine, he understands me a little. He knows about my ambition for Carleon. After all, I was once ambitious for Joe. He talks to the boy. He's trying to persuade him that the life of a commissary vet, while pleasant enough, is for uneducated Uncle Joe, and it's not for the life of Sir Carleon. But Carleon remains firm, as so do I. I notice that he avoids me being alone with him, and to this he is forced to watch the family at the Abbess. It makes me ask myself, what happiness did all my scheming bring me? David Killigrew writes to me frequently. He is still a curate, and his mother lives on, and I should, something to David, it's supposed to be right, VMTE, I'm guessing it's right, to David and tell him that I will never marry again, but I avoided it. It gives me pleasure to think of David waiting and hoping. It makes me feel important to someone. Kim and Meliora tell me I am important to them. Meliora calls me her sister. Kim calls me his. Kim, whom my heart and body calls out for. We were meant for each other. Sometimes I almost tell him so. But he's unaware. He told me once that he loves Meliora first, and then he heard that she had taken me home from the trinket fair. She seemed so gentle, he said, and yet she was capable of such an act. Gentleness and strength, Karensa. A perfect combination, and strength was all for someone else. That's my Meliora. And then when she brought you to the ball. Never to be deceived by my Meliora's gentleness. It's the gentleness of strength. I've seen them together, and I have to pretend. I was at the birth of the children, 2 boys and 2 girls. There'll be more. The eldest will inherit the Abbess, and he's been brought up to love it and to work for it. Why should this happen to me when I planned and worked and came so far? But I still have Carleon, and constantly I remind myself that he will be Sir Carleon one day, for Justin cannot live much longer. He's a sick man. Sir Carleon, he must have a future worthy of himself, and I still have Carleon to work for. I shall never allow him to be the village vet. Sometimes I sit at my window, looking out of the towers of the Abbess, and weep silently. No one must know how I suffered. No one must know how I failed. Sometimes I go and stand in the ring of stones, and it seems to me that my fate is more wretched than theirs. They were turned to stone while they were dancing defiance, and I wish I could have been. Meliora and Kim came over from the Abbess this evening, and they were frightened. We want you to come back with us, Karen said, just until they find him. I was cool. I have so far managed to hide my feelings. In fact, one of my triumphs, the few left to me, is the manner in which I deceive them into thinking that I'm just a good friend to them both. Find whom? It's Reuben Pengaster. He's escaped. They rather think he'll come back here. Reuben Pengaster? It was years ago that he tried to wall me up, and there has been times when I've told myself I wish that he had succeeded, and if he had, I should have gone to my death believing that Kim loved me as I loved him, and it seems that the greatest tragedy of my life was learning otherwise. I laughed. Yeah, I'm not afraid. Listen, Karensa. This was Kim speaking, his voice stern, his eyes clouded with concern for me. Now, I've heard from boatmen, and they're especially concerned. For the last days, he's been acting strangely. He said he had something to do, and he was going to do it. It was something that he should have had done before they took him, he says, and they're certain he'll come back here. Then they'll have guards here, and they'll be watching for him. People like that are cunning. Remember what he almost did? Well, but for you, Kim, I reminded him gently. Kim shrugged impatiently. Come over to the abyss. Then our minds will be at peace. And I thought, why should your minds be at peace? Mine has not been at peace all these years because of you. And I said, you're exaggerating. I should be perfectly all right here. I'm not moving. Well, that's crazy. Bum insisted. I think it's supposed to be Kim. Bum insisted. And Meliora was almost in tears. Well, we'll come over here then, went on Kim. And I was happy to see his concern. I wanted him to go on worrying about me all through the night. Oh, I'm not having you here, and I'm staying here. I said finally, this is an exaggeration. Reuben Pengaster has forgotten my existence. And I sent them away, and I waited. Night in the Dower House. Carleon was at school. Daisy was still with me, and I had not told her that I did not want to frighten her. She was asleep in her room, and I sat at my window. Oh, there's no moon, but it was a frosty night, and the stars were bright, and I could make out the ring of stones. Was that a shadow I saw there? Was that a sound I heard? A window being lowered? A latch being lifted? Burp. Why did I feel this elation, apart from locking up as usual? I had taken no special precautions. Oh, would he know where to find me? Would he have put away that I was living in the Dower House? I live there now. Oh, would he find some way of breaking into the house? Would I hear a stealthy step outside my door? That sudden laugh? And I could still hear it. I heard it in my dreams. Oh, there were times when I saw those big, strong hands about to clasp my throat. Sometimes in the night, I called out, why did Kim come and save me? And I wish he'd left me to die. And that is why I'm sitting now. Half fearfully, half hopefully. I wanted to know myself. I wanted to discover whether I was glad or sorry to be alive. I pictured him, the light in his eyes, the mad laughter. And I knew that he had broken out and come for me. He was a sick man, fearfully, mentally sick. But Kim was right when he said that such a man had cunning. And when he came for me, I should know. He would kill me. Perhaps he would hide me somewhere until he could build me into a wall, and I knew that's what he believed he must do. Walled up as a seventh virgin. I had been walled up for years, shut away from all that made life good. No sunshine to warm my bones. My life, a dead thing. Is that a football below? I always want to say football. I went to my window. It'd be hilarious, a little football just like kind of came rolling up to the window. I had been walled up for years, shut away from all the made man life good, no sunshine. Oh, sorry, I already read that part. I went to my window and saw a dark figure there by the shadow and by the garden hedge. My throat had gone dry, and when I tried to call out, my voice made no response. Reuben was down there. Oh, he had come for me as he said he would. Oh, of course he had come. Was that not his purpose in breaking out? He had something to do, and he had come to do it. As I stood at the window, unable for those seconds to move or to plan what to do, it came back to me so vividly that I relived it all again, the horror of being alone with Reuben in the cottage. And later, when I recovered a little from my senses and found myself in the cool night air, about to be walled up, face to face with death, I knew then that I did not want to die. Oh, he already grabbed her and got her into a wall. That above everything else, I wanted to live. And Reuben was down there. Oh, nope, that didn't happen yet. Waiting to kill me. The shadowy figure had disappeared behind the hedge, and I knew that it had moved closer to the house. I drew my dressing gown about me. I did not know what I was going to do. My teeth were chattering. One thought only was going round and round in my head. Oh, God, let me live. I do not want to die. How soon before he found a way into the house? Everything was locked. People like Reuben, whose minds were filled with a single purpose, often found a way. Why had I not gone to the abyss? They wanted me, Kim and Meliora. They loved me, in their way. But they loved each other more. Why must I always want to be the first? Why could I not take what was offered and be thankful? Why did it always have to be the best for me? I left my bedroom and made my way through the quiet house, down the staircase to the back door, and there was a glass panel in that door. My heart leaped with terror, for although through the glass, I could vaguely see the shape of a man. Reuben was on the other side of that door, I told myself, and if he could find no other way, he would break the glass. Oh, I could imagine his hand coming through the hole and to undo the bolt. Then I should be at his mercy. I wanted to get out of the house, and I had started to run through the hall and the front door when I remembered Daisy. So I went to her room and awakened her, and she had always been stupid, and I didn't want to waste time in explanations. Put something on quickly, I commanded. We're getting to the abyss at once. While she fumbled with her things, I was thinking, I don't want to die. I want to go on living, but differently. Never had I realized before how precious my life was. It had seemed to me that my own thoughts mocked me. Oh, your life is precious to you, to be lived the way you want to live it. What of others? Would they not feel the same? I gripped at Daisy's hand and ran down the stairs with her, and I pulled at the bolt on the front door. As we stepped out of my house, my arm was caught in a strong grip. And in that second half of terror, I knew I was going to fight for my life with all my strength. Karen, sir! Not Reuben then. Kim! Now his face was stern and anxious. So it is you. My God, he said almost curtly. You didn't think we were going to leave you alone. We? Meliora too? Oh, it was always Meliora and Kim. So it was you who were prowling around the house. You frightened me. I saw you from my bedroom. I thought you were Reuben. Well, that's no good, he retorted. Perhaps you're ready now to come to the abyss. So we went. And I didn't sleep all night. Sat at my window in the house, which had played such a large part of my life, and I saw the sunrise and the scarlet sky, for that moment or two, touch the stones with a rosy glow. In the morning, we heard that they had caught Reuben. Thank God, said Kim. And I, too, thanked God, for something had happened to me during that night. It was as though a chink of light had shone through the darkness which had enveloped me. Well, this is not the end of my life. I was young. I was beautiful. And Kim and Meliora could say thank God because I was alive. I was a year or so after that night when Reuben Pengaster died. Meliora brought me the news. Now, she did not mention it, but I knew she had been shadowed by her fear for me. She was radiant on that day, and I loved her. My love spread over me, warming like the sun. Kim joined us. I shall sleep peacefully again, he said, and I will tell you now I've lived in fear that he would get out and come for you. I smiled at him. There was scarcely any bitterness. He was Meliora's husband, and since that night of revelation, I had begun to see how right and fitting it was that he should be. I had loved him for his strength and goodness, the manliness of him. I had built him into my dream until I believed that he was as necessary to my happiness as the abyss. But the dreams could never take the place of reality, and on the night of terror, when I believed that for a second time in my life I was about to face death, I began to finish with dreams. Kim was not for me. I admired him. I loved him still, but differently. My feelings for him had gradually been changing. I had even begun to see that. Had I married him, our marriage would not have been the success his and Meliora's was. They were made for each other outside my dream. Kim and I, were not. Granny had wished me to marry. She wanted me to know that happiness she had shared with Pedro. Perhaps somewhere in the world there was someone who could love me, whom I could love, and with whom I could prove Granny's words that happiness was as something a guest within 4 cob walls in a mansion. Was as walling again? I'm moving on. He would have to be strong, bold, adventurous. Perhaps more so than Kim, who had settled down so happily to the quiet country life. And Carleon? Oh, our relationship had changed too. I loved him as deeply as ever, but I learned how precious my life was to me, and Carleon's was to him. We had talked of the future together, Joe with us, and Carleon was going to the university, and when he was of an age to decide what career he wanted, he should follow it. It's for you to choose, Carleon, I told him, and as he smiled at me, I knew that there was between us that trust and affection which every mother should hope to share with their beloved child. We were together often, and I have a great joy in my son. So I have come out of the darkness. I am no longer walled in by the bricks which I have laid with my own hands. There are sometimes dark days. But they pass and life becomes happier as the weeks goes on. Sometimes I fancy Granny is close to me, watching and applauding, and I remember the wisdom she taught me. I often repeat some of the things that she said to me, and I hear them with a new understanding. Perhaps I am learning to live as she wished me to, learning my lessons, and I have won back my son. Kim, is my friend. Meliora, my sister. Perhaps one day I shall find a life as satisfying as that granny enjoyed at Pedro B. Good life. The life that came unbidden to Meliora and was denied to me. The life of love. For loving is giving. All giving. Making no demands. Living only to give. That's what I am slowly learning when I have mastered the lesson. Who knows? The good life may come. Oh, thank God. That's the end of that book. Why don't we go down to the smoking room and perhaps have a cigarette and talk about what we just read? Well, there you are. Why don't you get yourself settled? Look at you, taking one of my cigarettes. I didn't say you could bring your own cigarettes if you're gonna sit here and take advantage of my home. God damn it, I forgot about the birds. Can you tell I'm not happy that you're here? Again, I've gone back to that. It's because now that the book's done, I don't need you. I don't have to rely on you to finish this thing. Damn it. What do we learn here in this story? Well, I was expecting that the Ring of Stones, the 6 of 7 virgins, I was expecting that to be some sort of ghostly thing, like a visage of a ghost haunting the Meliora, or Carenza, whatever. And, but no, that never really panned out. But the writer is good. The writer instead decided to make the 7th virgin her, only not in some paranormal, spooky, oh my God, she's going to die kind of way. I mean, she kind of did, but or she's put in that position. But she is more symbolic of what she's doing to herself, that she became very ambitious, and she was trying to control the lives of her brother and her own life, and towards the end, a little bit even her mom, Granny B. Mom, Granny, whatever. It's been a long book. So, in the end, she learns as everything falls apart around her, and she keeps trying to kind of gather up the mess and hide it, and still try to be successful so she can rule the abyss with her son, that things weren't coming according to plan. Her husband had gambling problems, and that made everything start to decline and fall apart. And then there's like murder, and then her son, like as he got older, was like kind of growing away from her and stuff. And then she really banked on Kim. She was kind of growing this like fondness for Kim from this memory from their childhood. And then Kim is totally not interested in her. And thank God I could at least call that one out. I failed at everything else, but so with that, so the lesson learned is that you can make yourself the 7th virgin, getting walled up in your own construction of hate and ambition and controlling and anger, because it probably won't work out. For some people it does, but in her case, it didn't. So she learned to live a more gentle life, to celebrate her life, and to go with the flow, and not be so controlling of her son, of the people around her, and all that stuff. She even realized, I didn't really love Kim. I just like the idea of Kim, much like I am with Beyonce. So, that's good. Some weird plot points. I guess one that stands out is Granny B was there to witness the murder of her future husband, and looks like her because keeps saying, like, here, wear this outfit, get the hair with the mantilla, do your hair with the mantilla. I guess one thing I'm not clear on, because there was so much to read and I was plowing through it as fast as humanly possible. Did she witness the murder and say, crap, I got to get my kid to look like me so that it doesn't look, so he doesn't come after me? And then said, here, get your hair like mine and wear this mantilla. Or did that happen before the murder? I don't remember, and I'm not going to go back and look that up. So Granny B sounds like kind of a jerk. And if that wasn't the case, if the whole hair and mantilla thing happened before she witnessed the murder, and then he was like, oh, who are you? And then thinks it's granddaughter instead, kind of fucked up that when the granddaughter says, or when she says, I'm going to marry this guy, not knowing why. And Granny B is like, okay, good luck. So Granny B kind of sounds like the biggest monster out of this. Whether she did the hair thing before the murder or did the hair thing after the murder to protect herself, either way, she's kind of a monster. She just didn't want this guy to come back and murder her. So yeah, you blame my grandkid and go marry my grandkid. I don't give a crap as long as you stay the hell away from me, which has got to be weird when Granny B gets brought in to live on their land and everything else. So I think the biggest seventh virgin out of this is Granny B. Otherwise, story was well written. It was paced well. It had nice little symbolic things here and there, like it has pointed out recently, with the Melioras stitching up the little elephant or whatever, which is actually a symbol of what's hindering her from the life she thought she wanted. And there's like some good stuff going on there. So the author is actually a good author. Weird that she could kick out that level of writing like once a year under a bunch of fake names. Insane. It's insane that somebody that could write pretty well, like I would say writes better than J.K. Rowling, and J.K. Rowling is super famous and transphobic, but she is doing really, really, really well with a book that I don't think is at the same level as the book I just read. And Stephanie Meyer for Twilight, no. Why did this person, under a bunch of fake pseudonyms, who could write at this level once a year, not do better? I don't know. I guess maybe during the time that Harry Potter and Twilight were being made, or written, or whatever, maybe just standards of reading, standards of prose had dropped so low that they're like, oh, she wrote about goblins that were pretty anti-Semitic, and whatever, little wizards and stuff, and she's not the worst. Well, let's just put her up on a pedestal like some kind of god. And then there's Stephanie Meyer. So maybe back in the 70s when this was written, they just had higher standards. I don't know. But in either case, that was the book that took me like 2 months to read. I hope somebody listens and enjoys it. God knows you've been coming every goddamn week. So why don't you go back to your house? I'm going to put out another episode, and then I'm going to Germany, and I have nothing to do with you. I owe you nothing. I've done this book. I'm going to do another episode where I go to Germany, and you can listen to it while I'm in Germany, sitting in like a hot tub in the Black Forest, holding a cuckoo clock over my head, which is like going off with a little bird, doing little tweet sounds, and I'm just sitting in the hot tub in the snow, and just laughing, and just enjoying myself. Well, with that, thanks for listening, and I will probably see you next week. Well, it appears you found me in the part of the podcast I hate the most, where I tell you all about the places on the internet where you can find me. You can tell I hate this because of the sound effects making it sound like a stormy night in the drawing room of the damned. Now, there's that. Are you cool? I like cool people. It's the reason why I got involved in this business to begin with, just to meet cool people, not losers. So if you're cool, feel free to go over to my website, nuzzlehouse.com. Which just points you to my link tree. Everything's on the link tree. Just go to the link tree if you want to see where I am. And of course, link tree has the dumbest URL in the world. linktr.ee/nuzzlehouse. It's the dumbest thing. If you go to nuzzlehouse.com, it's just going to reroute you over there after giving you some weird error about it not being secure. I hate it. I hate the internet. But if you go there, you get to hear some of the other stuff that I and my wife work on, like the Radio Mystery Theater show, where we try to recreate the same show that used to be on in the 70s, but they don't make any episodes anymore. So we make our own, and we just steal all their commercials. And also, just in the curious mind, we made a Christmas album. If you go to our link tree, you can see that we made a Christmas album. It's the first thing we did after getting married, which I think everyone should do when they get married, is start talking about the Christmas album they're going to make. And we're working on a new show where we give relationship advice by reading paranormal smut. And since I think you might be cool, you can always just email me directly. glenn.nuzzles@gmail.com. But don't email if you're a nerdling or a dork. Now, back to business. Can't believe I drank all of them already. There's gotta be one left.